What's up today, guys? Today, taking a look at the Kawasaki F7 again. So we're going to start off by messing with the carb, and then we'll go look at the coil. I got a throttle cable in. I just edited the last video last night, so not much has changed. This is Sunday, the next day. But we can still kind of continue on with what we have. So I haven't been able to get this out yet, but I got it to the point where I could spin it. Used a little heat from the propane. I think it's propane. Yeah, the propane kind of heated a little bit, so it just bubbled. Had some liquid wrench in there. I first cleaned it out with some brake cleaner, then put some liquid wrench in, let it sit overnight, took it out. After I heated it, sprayed it out with brake clean after it cooled down, put some more liquid wrench in it, and then I just started working on spinning it to get it freed up, and then it would move a little bit. I have a couple different needle nose. This one has next to no grip on the tips, is well used, but it's got a nice fine point. And then I have this proto pair, which have a nice grip, but they're a little fatter. Well, we've got it to this point. Basically, the best I can do is I can get it, the screwdriver in here, and then I come in with a pair of pliers, pinching on those two tabs inward onto the pliers, and I kind of spin and pull. It's taken a lot. It's fallen down a couple times, but it seems to come back up. So I'm going to keep working here. Hopefully we can get it out. All right, so I did just get it out. Looks like as I spun it, it kind of freed up, tarnished up. I was worried about ruining that the rubber pad at the bottom, but everything looks okay. So it looks like we got a good starter system now for the F7 carb. Just gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do about that that hole in there. I have an idea. I'll get to that here in a second. So this is gonna be a dual episode where I talk about one, the coil, and two, I'll have it in this video. But what we're gonna do is we're going to tear into, I think it's 10mm, the coil, because the one on this F7 is cracked. Now there's been a lot of information or a lot of questioning about this because it has the two green power wires coming to the coil. I bought a aftermarket one for, I think it's a Honda, 6-volt, so we'll see how that works. They do sell them for KE175s, so I may end up buying one of those here later. But the big curiosity about this all is to see what is the other green wire for. So I figured, well, this coil's shot. It has a big crack in it. So let's tear into it and actually see what the heck's going on with it. But I first need to take it off. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and throw my backup coil. Well, I guess it's not a backup coil. It's the parts bike coil, the F6 coil, on this bike and see if it gets spark. If it does, great. I won't fret too much. But this one is shot here, and I'm curious too. What are these two green and white wires go to? So we'll kind of see if we can tear into this. See what's going on. I'm just gonna take that screw out for now. I'm gonna end up catching that. I'm gonna have to do some manipulating here. I would be very surprised if this actually ends up having spark. Tight quarters and a lot of stuff moving. I can't even see if that's getting spark. Move it up, see if I can see it. Nope. The spark plug wire is unbelievably, annoyingly stiff. Okay. I'll lay it so I can see it this time. Alright, I didn't think it would. Okay, so this is going to be a little backwards. I started cracking on this just to see if I could. I thought about putting a little brake clean on it because that usually loosens glue up. It looks like they're both just soldered right here to this terminal, which is kind of odd. But it answers a question that a lot of people have been asking, what's going on with it. I don't know, to be honest. Oop, this coil is already shot, so we aren't going to concern too much here. Safety glasses are on because I don't want to get into this in my eyes. So there we have it. Both wires are terminated at the same spot. So why did Kawasaki do that? I don't know. It looks to be one tab that comes out and they both are soldered there. I may rob this harness for the new coil that I get and just butt it in. So we'll see. That's supposed to show up tomorrow, Monday, and we'll see what it says. Now this is Kawasaki. That's a different part number than that other Kawasaki, or the F6, it seems like. 4180CD1C. Oh, well. Alright, nonetheless, diving into it. So that kind of answers questions about what's going on with the wires, hopefully for people who are working on Kawasaki F7s. They both go to the same spot. Doesn't answer what kind of coil to use. I got a lot of the parts in. Most importantly, I got a new carb gasket, so I'm going to go ahead and start by working on that. We got a lot of the other parts in, so we can put the oil tank on, because I got the rubber O-ring for that. I have some more banjo bolts for the two-stroke system, and I forget what else I got. I got some other project parts here, so got a coil, so we can test that out, see if we can just rig it and make it work. Although people will claim that the CDI will go out, we'll see. Pulls apart, everything looks to be there. I have not looked up the about the position of the air screw yet, so that'll be something I need to look into at some point, just to get it to run. I'll probably back it out like 2.5 turns, just a general start, and then I'll have to look in a book. I don't know if I have any books here, if I'll have to track one down. Probably do. I know I have some PDFs I got years ago when there was still those Yahoo groups. I don't know if anybody remembers that. There was Yahoo groups that you could join, much like a forum, but they were like a forum. They were Yahoo groups for specific things. At the time, I only had that 72 F7. Well, I had the 74 F7, but I also had my 72. Now I have a whole plethora of Kawasaki's from the 70s. Okay, nothing crazy here. Make sure they're all kind of snug. Alright, I think mostly the carburetor is pretty much squared away. We got that taken care of. Oh, yeah, another thing. So the holes are 0.155. So I did some Googling, and I was trying to find a ball bearing or something that would be close to 155, and number 2 shotgun shot is about the closest I could find. So I tracked down a number 2 shotgun shell. I was looking for lead ones. They do make them. It's fairly expensive, $35 for a box of 25. Steel shot isn't much cheaper, but it is cheaper. And if you have buddies that waterfowl hunt, you can get steel ones probably pretty easy. So I'm going to try to cut it cut it up here. Hopefully, I should probably do this over a bag or something. That way it doesn't spill them all everywhere. I don't know how good this razor blade is. Just trying not to cut my hand. So you might be able to get lucky. We're gonna. I haven't measured it, so we're gonna see if this will work. I'm trying to think outside the box to get us to our solution of. There we go. I got through the shell. There we go. I don't want to get too crazy. Get this bike running at a reasonable cost. I'm not trying. I could dump thousands of dollars into this bike. Ooh, that might have been too much. But I don't really want to do that. All right. Let's see here. Oop, I got one. Let's see what it measures out to. I'm still recording. Yep. We'll get the old Brown and Sharps out. Looks like it comes out to 0.15. Yeah, they were correct. Just a hair shy. Yeah. So, trick's going to be, well, that kind of works out pretty good. I might rough up the inside, and then I'll have to stick something in there to keep it from going in too far. I think we could wedge something in there. Now I wanted something lead because it'd be a little bit more malleable to smash in there. The steel shot isn't going to be as malleable. And I don't know, I may just machine something, piece of pipe or steel tubing. I could just measure this and see what we're actually at. That way when I try to peen this ball in there, maybe it'll just glue it. I wanted lead though, so it would kind of squish in and seal. But I don't know if I'm going to get that lucky. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. It'll be upside down. But I'm just trying to take this screwdriver, and I'm using it as a chisel, which is not its intended purpose. And I'm just trying to create ridges inside this bore. Basically, it's knurling it, so that way I can it'll make the bore a little smaller, which is not something you want to do in most cases, but being as we are trying to get this ball bearing stuck in here, that's what we're going to do. And hopefully, with any luck, it will work out in our favor. Now let's see if this will go part way in. Now I'm going to give it a small tap with a brass punch. Hopefully it'll seat it. Punch. Did I say brass? I really meant whatever I could find. So let's see if we can kind of wedge this in here a little without going too far. I don't think we went too far. So this is just over 5/16. We're looking at 313. It could be 312. No, it's not. 1, 2. Yeah, it's just over 313. Oop, about lost it there. So I'm curious if it'll slide back down in here. If it's going to push that ball. I don't want to get this stuck in there again. Well, I think we got it. I tried making a nice little hook to get this in and out, but it works. But I think we got it. That ball bearing seems to be not moving in or out. I mean, yes, time will tell. It does move. Let's see if this goes down. but it I think what I'll do is I'll just JB weld that ball bearing in here on this side, and that'll keep it from going into that bore. So the next thing I have on my list here is to sort out this two-stroke setup. Most people would tell me just to trash it, but I am not a fan of that, as I don't know, I think if Kawasaki wouldn't spend a bunch of money to make something that's purposely trashed, just, you know, they wouldn't spend that much money on it just to make something. Company's got a lot of other things to spend their money on. And failed systems usually isn't the one thing they like to do. So, I don't have any spacers in this one, so it'll just be a hanging here, but it'll get it. We'll have to move that wiring. That's not cool. Let's see if we can move this up a little higher, or not, just not here. Work a little better for us, and just slightly. That oil tank pushes back here. We're gonna have to do something about the wiring on this here after a bit. You're supposed to have a little spacer in that top bushing like this one does, but I'll just have to make something here. Find some tubing. That might be a next week project, but once we get this set up with a good line, you can pull it off and it'll just be a sealed system at that point. Ratchet out. I should say I won't have to worry once it's a sealed system. I worry a little bit about the clutch. Should have probably pulled those plates. This is going to be like a 10 and a 13, I bet. Yep. Should have pulled those plates and just made sure they weren't stuck. I'm not going to get crazy with that because it doesn't have the bushing. This should be... Yep. Long bolt. And it needs a big washer, so we'll have to look into that. Okay, so what haven't we got here? Probably, as I was saying that, probably ought to look into getting some new fuel line or some oil line here. So let's take these screws out and we'll kick this over. Oh, big screwdriver for that. Use my number 2 today. Need to fix the over. I do like the fact that this bike has really decent compression compared to some of the other bikes I've had. Okay, so the top one's wonky. Let me go see. I do have a thread chaser in here. Let's see what we got. M6x1. What is this? This is a metric one. Good deal. M6x1. Here. Ratchet wrench will work. What size is this? It's 11. I'm going to be a little bummed. 12 it is. just run this thread chaser. It is 11. Darn it. What do we got? That's got 11 millimeter. I know you guys don't see what I'm doing, guys. My baby wants to. My baby ratchet wrenches do. So, I'll just use this. Clean the threads up. Probably best I use the shorty. Don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. And break it. That wouldn't be too cool. Okay, that's probably the bottom. And we'll work our way back out. Well, it did. Yeah, it just looks like a bunch of corrosion was in there. Nothing crazy. I'll say that now, but we'll see. See how the bolt hangs out. After how these wrenches go. Pick this up. Alright, so hopefully we fix that. I need to go get some. Oh, just keep the camera. I need to get some O-rings. Some banjo O-rings. Probably ought to replace that one, but I don't know that I have a. Copper washer for that. So I don't really want to order one. I've already spent a lot of money on this bike. Much like a cheap Mercedes. There's nothing more expensive. That's probably tightening it. There we go. And it looks like it's short an O-ring anyways. So we don't have any O-rings on this. Filter looks good. Is it the bolt head or is that an O-ring? It is an O-ring. You know what? Maybe we can get away with the oil drain. The oil drain ones are about this size. So let me a whole bunch of those for these bikes. Okay, so I went and got some crush washers down in storage. I'm gonna put them together here. Hopefully this line isn't all jacked up. Hopefully that's not foreshadowing. That would kind of suck. I mean, I can just replumb a line using some Tygon. So we're going to go ahead and I'll leave it loose. I'm not going to tighten it because I want this to bleed, and then I want to make sure we're pumping oil to the line before I actually hook it up. So we got a couple different things going on. I went ahead and I cut off the old line off this banjo fitting. The internal ID is bigger, but the OD is the correct size, so that works out getting this to where we need it, hopefully. So we'll have to get the other end off. Then we'll just kind of measure, because neither of these lines were the correct length. And I could probably put this back on. Let's see here, get our pliers out. These little fittings are easy to deal with, but they're kind of a pain in the butt when they don't like to play. There they go. Set that down there. Don't really need it. When you got rock hard lines, the easiest way is just to cut it. Make sure you get your length if you need a length for it, and then just use cut straight this way. Or you can grab. Sometimes you can grab it and rip it, but I don't think these are going to be flexible enough. It spins, but it's not going to let me. Alright, so I'm going to turn this to where I get a good purchase. You want to keep your fingers away so you don't cut them. You kind of just let it do its thing. You have to make a couple paths down it. see, you can see some brass in there. Just gotta be careful with it. There we go. One more. Perfect. Let's see kind of where we're at. Just grab it, rip it, and we got it. Alright, so now, throw that down there. I like to use little baby zip ties on these. Those wire ends work okay if you're using the correct size hose, but I won't be able to use the correct size hose, so we aren't going to be able to use those wire crimps from the factory, even though I don't mind using them. I believe these are the right size, and they are. So that works out good. So let's go ahead and slip this all together. I should clean this tank out first. I probably ought to. Let's look inside. Oil tanks don't usually get that bad because they have oil on them. That's a long thread. Yeah, I might flush it. So we won't crimp this down. We're just going to thread it up. Kind of about where it needs to go. This oil line has been in my storage, or my one of my boxes that got wet. Alright, so probably something like, we could just do this. Look, let's be smart about this. We'll just slide it, get an accurate dimension here. Okay, I might just go ahead and zip tie it back so we don't catch it with our leg. Could even run it through here and then around. That's not a bad idea. I like that. Is that factory? I don't know. Let's see how this looks. That keeps it inbound, out of everybody's way. Whoever's racing, riding. It's not the most direct route, but it keeps... The only problem is if I go to take the oil tank off, I don't want that. How's my KD look? 90% sure it. Yeah, KD's on the opposite side. I don't know. I like that routing, but I don't want to be able to take this tank off if I have to get to the air box. Now, we'll just go this way, because even if, yeah, we can leave this, the two-stroke pump plugged in, and we can roll it up. We'll just give us a little extra slack. In case the hose splits or something, we'll have a little bit extra. We can always trim it. These aren't the best pliers for this. They're meant for it, they just aren't as good anymore. We'll just pull this through, push this barbed fitting in. Sometimes you got to put a little oil on them. That one you didn't. All right. So I went ahead and bought two more. This is, believe it or not, the budget route was buying two as opposed to one. Banjo bolt fittings. Get the 6mm ones. I just buy these from McMaster Car. It's the cheapest option available. You can buy 50 of them for about the price you'd buy 4 off of the part suppliers. So I go that route. So I think I went through quite a few on my KD just because I kept having to take the oil pump off and mess around with it that way. Alright, so we got this plumbed and routed. I know I need to put banjo bolts over here, so let's go ahead and do that before we start. We'll go to try to put the carburetor on. There's nothing on the back side, but there is one on the front. So let's pull that guy off. There we go. I don't know how far I'm going to get in this video as far as to starting, but we get most of the new parts on. Obviously, I got a throttle cable for it. I may route it, put it together over here, but my time is limited today. So I'm trying to get as much done as I can in my meager amount of time. And hopefully get that. There we go. Now I can leave this loose and let it bleed. And then, well, we'll have to pull the carb off anyways. It's not tight, just snug. Okay, I can go put those up here after a while. So we got this run. I still have to JB weld the carburetor, so that won't happen today. But I don't want to clean out the rat's mess inside the shed. I'd rather do that outside. Today would be a good day, possibly, to do it because it's blowing out there. And we got the carburetor. This is your throttle. Here's your throttle cable, but this is how you set your idle, which I did not know that till recently, because it pulls up on the carburetor. But I think this is all kind of bent, so that's pretty cool. Not really. Anyways, yeah, it's not even at it. Someone's got it rolled all the way in. There we go. So we might have to try to straighten this all a little bit. Let's see what happens. Okay, needle looks pretty good. I guess you guys can't see what I'm doing because I'm up there. Try to wrap that around, and I'm going to try to wrap this around because this did catch my leg. I don't want it, if I have a buddy racing it, I don't want them to get hurt. There we go. And nicely wrap this around this way. Perfect. That'll be a mess to take off though, so have fun with that, bud. Well, I guess we're down to checking out the carburetor. I'm going to go ahead and put some of this stuff back on just so it's not getting lost over the week. We can see if our... So I had to get a new outer case. They don't... This is my GoPro 6 still. They don't reproduce... GoPro still doesn't... they don't support this camera anymore because it's like, I don't know, 8 generations behind, 7 generations behind. That's right, that went in good. I like that. We're good there. I think I even have a gasket for this. Maybe. I don't think. Maybe not. But I had to get a new case because it finally cracked, and I didn't want to be riding down the road on the motorcycle and lose my camera because that would stink. That, you know, they're an investment, like a lot of stuff. So right now, I'm going to shift gears here, and I'm going to kind of clean up. So to kind of help snug up the top end of this, I just got some Tygon, shoved it on that stud that's there. And I got a little bit bigger hose and shoved that on, and that locks that bad boy in there solid. Okay, good. That does tighten. I was getting a little worried. Looks like they broke the bolts off for the battery holder over here. Again, I got a little rat's nest. If we get it running, I'll take care of this stuff. But as far as vent line, I just ran some of that pink hose, which is Suzuki part number that I had left over from the Kawasaki, the Suzuki Titan. So here's what I did so far. I got the new coil here. I set that down there for now. Went ahead, disassembled the old coil as far as the hardware, because I'm going to try to save it. These are 6x40. So I'm going to try to use those on this. Let's see, how was that mounted? It's going to be, let's see, we have it like this. I guess it doesn't really matter, to be honest. We'll go ahead and throw that on. And then it had the little lock washer. And then this. Probably could stand to get new hardware, but I'm not going to do that right now. Slip that on, slip this on, and then we'll get the dirty nut on. Alright, so I'll snug this up. That was a little bit of a trick disassembling these, but it's doable. It should get a ground through the bolt of this new 6mm by 1. Same thing we used earlier on the crankcase. And then we have, forgot to grab my multimeter. I'm worried about the distance on these, the spacing, but that's what drills are for. I can read that. Now this is a cheap eBay, one of those $12 eBay coils, 6 volt. It's actually for a Honda CL, I think it was CL 170 or 100, but I don't know. I don't know if it really matters buying a H1 coil versus one of these as they advertise. So I'm going to go ahead and pull off my parts bike one. 10mm. The F6 coil that we swapped in last weekend. Let's see see if it would just work, just out of curiosity. I have not confirmed or denied whether that CDI is good. So I'll kind of put this together. As you can tell, this coil has definitely seen better days as well. No cracks in it, but it doesn't look as well. I guess this would be a good time to check this, the distance on this. It won't matter. I'll just open it up with a drill. If I have to get some washers, I'll get some washers. We'll see here how far apart we are. Actually, they're darn near dead on. So one thing that's going to be different though is which way the spark plug comes out. Could mount it like this, but I think I'll mount it in the original configuration and just run the wires. See if the wires will stretch. If they don't, well, we'll just flip her around, I guess. And we'll see here how this works out. It does slip in. Again, this is a cheap 6 volt eBay coil. I'm sure Amazon has their fair share. I didn't try one of those. I'll post the ad that I used. If I remember to, I should remember to. Like I said, I may have to flip this around, so I'm just going to snug up that front one. Now this is all going to be a little backwards to what you guys see. I'm going to go ahead and clip these off. We already said that this coil is not good. So I'll clip these wires off. Try to... Alright, so we freed our little wiring harness from... Let's see if we can get this. I have to peel this wire back here. The sheathing is... It's still pliable. I've seen a lot worse. These are... Ow, darn it. I didn't want to clip it. Okay. Get some working room here. Okay, that should be good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we'll tag these two together, the two green and white wires, and then we'll tag the ground together by itself. I like to solder these when I can. Let's see if we got a end. Okay, so I did have to run the coil backwards. Let's see which one is the ground. Okay, neither of them are grounding. All right. It'll work either way. Yeah. Okay, so not sure which one is the ground here. Let's get the coil wire. Now that it's wrapped up and everything, let's see. This shows 5 ohms, but one of them should be grounded. Alright, well, that's interesting. There's resistance. No resistance. Alright, well, let's try plugging this bad boy in, I guess, and just see what happens. That's the game we're going to play today. I tried. I have failed, I think. Okay. Alright, let me grab this other coil, the old NGK plug, which is... This NGK plug may have not been making contact. That may be a good coil. But we will see if this one is. Problem with these bikes are supposed to have a battery in them, but this one doesn't, because it's not set up for it anymore. Alright. Let's see if we do have any spark. An awkward standing position. Let me do some rearranging. Okay, here we are. No spark, so let's try flipping these wires around. See if that does anything. Might have to add a ground wire to this. Maybe. Alright, well, we're still not getting spark. So we're going to have to do some backtracking or trying to figure out what's going on with it before we get too further deeper into this bike. Alright, well, we'll just have to continue on another day. So I already took the 2-stroke tank out, flushed it out with some mineral spirits, ran it basically till it came out clear. Went ahead, took my air box out, got rid of that mouse nest that was in here. That's the only reason I'm wearing gloves. So we got the CDI unit, I got it pulled up. I'm going to reroute these wires. Hopefully avoid the chain, but I kind of need them to be tucked up over here so that way that air box and this can sit flat. Unless I can get them squished over into there. I think that's where they usually live. Anyways, so I'm going to try to check the coil wires. So I have to get rid of some of this electric tape someone's got up in here, and we'll unplug these. But I want to correspond green, white, green and white, green and white, black, yep, red and white, blue, red and white, blue, black. Okay, so those will be okay. So it looks like we're doing good there. So let me go ahead and get kind of set up here to test these ignition coil, or the coil wires down at the magneto. Let's see what's going on. Alright, I don't have a really good way of holding the camera, and hopefully you can see these wires. Now, upon inspection here, I could see this red and white wire. I can already see there's space in here. You can see the wires. It looks, I can't tell if it's gotten hot or what, or if it's just the residue from that plastic. So let's figure out red and white is the exciter coil. Okay, we're going to put this to ohms. I have a manual with me. I may bring that over. I may just set this here so you can see it as well. So my red and white exciter coil, to test to black, which would be my ground. I assume it's this one here. So this should read 220 plus or minus. No, that's not a good start here. We got nothing. Alright, we'll go to black and blue, which is the signal, which should be 75 ohms. 75. We're getting 76 plus or minus 10. We're doing good there. So it's looks like my exciter coil is bad, or the wiring's bad. Let's get a little closer here. This is not appropriate generally. Let's see if it's the end. See if I can sneak in. I guess you guys can't really see that. So I'll set that like that. Double check my camera settings here. Yep. Alright. So let me go over this again. Black and blue, signal coil, 75. I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. But again, we're at 76. That's good. And red and white there ain't doing too good. It should be an open ground there. Alright. So now let's go charging coil, blue and white to black, which I don't really care about this. And this one should be 0.23. We're at 1. I don't know that I can go any lower on that. Ohms. 200 would be my lowest, I think, here. Let's try that. .4, so maybe my charging coil ain't too good. That could be expected. Okay, what's my other option here? Yellow. Well, I got a yellow and green. We'll check this yellow here. These are not ones I use. 1.4 should be 2.3. It's the lighting coil. I'm not using that, but our exciter coil is giving us trouble here. So let me check this option back here. Let me try to get a little lower on this wiring. See if we can get a good spot. Maybe I can break through. It's not advised to do this, but we're going to try it just to test and see if it's just a bad connection. I'm going to poke into that wiring. Oh, man. I just want to see if I can get a connection. And let's get these wires here out of my way. Then I'm going to slip this here. Get it wedged up there good. Okay, so the connection there isn't bad. It's not great. That should be a better connection than that. So I'll go over to the black here. And definitely looks like our exciter coil's bad. That would explain why we aren't getting signal to the spark. I'll double check this. Yep. Alright, well, looks like I'm in the market for an exciter coil. Those can be found. Oh wait, I have some spare motors. Okay, so I'm back at it here. I got the black, red, and white again. Let's see if the F6 setup is anywhere close to what we want to be. He's got a bad connection. It's supposed to be 220. I think I'm just getting a bad connection here. I'm going to say that the lighting coil's good on this one. I'm not getting a good read on this. $193, 10% of 220 would be 22, which would mean this would just be barely out of spec if it is 193. But again, we're getting some pretty wild. Let's do this. Oh, you know what helped? Let's go to this. 218. Technically, that's in within spec. Maybe we'll just swap this one in and see what happens. I might do that. Getting the flywheel's off a trick, but I can re-sheath this before we get started, like I did on the G5, and then I'll just throw this whole timing plate in there. Maybe, if it matches up. So, at least we're moving forward. I'm going to set that down there. And try to move forward, see if we get some spark with this. Alright, so I dived in ahead of you guys a little bit. A lot of silicone clutch. Some would probably say, oh, you should have done your plates, because I myself started worrying about that. But something's messed up with the actual mechanism. We aren't moving. So, something else to worry about. Now, if you've ever messed with these Kawasaki's, this is one of the hardest things to do on them, is to get this darn flywheel off. So wish me luck at this point, because they don't always come off. So let me get my tools around and try to mess with that. I did run into some issues with some stripped screws. I could replace that, and it looks like the shifter shaft is, well worn on this end. If I replace the clutch and pull the basket, I will definitely replace this. They also put the bolt in from the top, which made it almost impossible to get out. You usually put them in from the bottom. So, I don't know why they did that, but either way, let's, so the bolt size here is 22. Now, you have to hold it somehow. I should have grabbed something for that. I'll be back. The question is, can a 3/8 impact do it? Yep, there we go. So I didn't really want to go track down my bench. We will not be using this to put it back together. So I'm going to go ahead and put up my tools so I can get my I managed to get the flywheel off earlier this week. It was on there good. I coiled everything up, had my puller on it, let it sit overnight, came back and I took the breaker bar and I thought I'm going to hit it or get it one more time with this breaker bar and just push it till I can't. And it popped off after a couple hammer taps. So I went ahead and threw the CDI end unit here into some Evapo-Rust. Definitely cleaned everything up in here. I'm going to spray it down with some electromotive cleaner, and then I'll probably put some dielectric grease on there. This looks pretty good. I want to make sure we got good contact everywhere, so we will clean this up. I should probably resheathe this, but I don't know that I will. I gotta try to pull all this out real quick. I can't see on here. I'm gonna try to scrub this down with some electromotive cleaner too, the aluminum plate. See if I can find timing marks on the KD 175. There is a timing mark. I don't know that there is on here, so hopefully we can either paint marker this, transfer it over. Well, it might be right over here. Or I might have to switch plates. One of the two. Haven't quite figured this out yet. I don't really want to switch plates just because it's going to be a little bit of work more than what I want. But I might, like I said, I might be able to paint marker this one, put them back to back, paint marker it across, and then bring it over. That may actually be what I do. The backing plates look exactly the same, so hopefully this works out. Now we're just focusing right now on get it spark, because, well, if it doesn't have spark, it won't run. The next step I'm going to work on is, hopefully the seals aren't bad. If they are, we'll have to pull all this back out. May happen. Just kind of the roll of the dice on that one. Starter cable's supposed to be coming in today. I already got a throttle cable that finally came in from Australia. So that kind of leaves not a lot to get it running. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to at least get spark in this one. Maybe get it running. So let's I'm gonna go clean these with some dielectric grease or some electromotive cleaner, get everything situated, and we'll come back. Alright, so the camera did wake up. There is a timing mark. I noticed that just like my KD. It is right up in here. You can kind of see it. I'll mark that one. There is barely a nub on there. Barely. On the F6 one. At least this one has a little bit. Question is, are these F5 or M5 or... Oh boy. That's going to take an impact drive. So the other day when I was impact driving these, I grabbed my number 3. And it looks pretty good until you roll around to the backside and realize it was only machined for 3 spots. That kind of sucks, but so the P2 is what I'm going to have to use here. Let's see if we can do this without losing the screw. Nope, I'm going to have to readjust myself. Where I could put some force on this bad boy. Lost my light. And let's see what we got going on here. Let me get a 3/8 adapter for this. You can actually take those off. We'll get a socket rail. With, let's see what we got. I'm gonna have to move my light so I can see here in a bit. So if you didn't know, you could take the ends off and actually get. Are these rated for this? Probably not. They don't tell Craftsman. There we go. It is a weather update on this. It is a brisk 40 degrees with a 15 to 20 mile an hour north wind. Like any other time, it'll be 80 degrees next weekend. So, yeah, it kind of got a cold front. Now, if these are 5mm, I don't know if I actually have any of these on hand. Oh, there goes that one. They have a lock washer on them. I may end up having to order some, which is going to delay us. That bad boy is rust. Let me get another light. It is rusted and crusted. The washer's kind of tore up too. Hope I don't have to order them, but I could get away with just using non-JIS screws. The panheads are a little bit bigger. We may just put the two good ones in and see if we get spark. Yeah, we got a couple different sizes here. Getting this out is sometimes a trick. Obviously not this one. I was joking. There's a wire loom down here. We'll have to take that screw out, which is, that screw is almost stripped. That is probably why they stopped. Maybe. Let's take a look. So as you can see, the screw that we need to take off look like it's rounded out pretty bad. So let's see if we get like a P3 or a P2 in there, and I'll use that hammer to get it out. This one is a good one for these longer. Maybe a JIS on there. Is that a snap-on? I do have one snap-on P3. I didn't realize that. I spent a lot of time at, you know what? I'm going to take that off in a second. Spent a lot of time at going through pawn shops when I was in college. I was able to collect some tools. Not everything I needed, not everything I wanted, but it gets me by. I just need to find something that's gonna grab. That might. I got, what is this, a P4? What's a P3? Let's see what we got. That'll grab. I'm going to get one chance at this, so I'm going to take this off. I think that's an 18mm. I wish it was warm enough I could push the bike out and lay it over. It makes it a lot easier to work on instead of having to kind of try to climb over and under stuff. Well, you won't get a view of me getting it out of there because I needed... That was not successful. Alright, let's try to get the light in a situated way. There we go. And with some luck, we actually got it. Now this is an actual case screw. This holds the case together. So this is something we can't leave out. But we need that off to get this kind of pulled out of here. Let's see if we can snake it through. Now it looks like someone's repaired this, which I may just do like what they did. They use electric tape, so you shouldn't use electric tape because it'll peel off. I have some dry vinyl wrap. You can see the original vinyl up here, up under this. They didn't take it off. They just wrapped this. I may go that route. You can still smell it. It smells like Croil. If you don't know what Croil smells like, well, you're missing out, buddy or gal. It is a nice smell. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes it's annoying, especially when you're breathing a ton of it. This is gas. Oh. Well, I was going to describe to you how hard that was, but as you can see, it's just practically brittle. I don't know if that other one has that, so that may be a little trick. I need to get some case screws because these are these all the same size? That's not. That is. Boy, that's someone ground that guy down. That's not normal. You can see the tips. Those are the same size though. And those are the same size, so I need 3 of these. I'll see if I can go get some more of these and one of these, and then we'll working around on this concrete on my knees. I'm not old. I feel like I'm old sometimes. Some of the older guys are probably gonna yell at me about that. Now watch this. I'll go see if I can find a some 5mm here. I don't think I got any, but you never know what I come up with. I don't really want to go to town to get some, so I'll turn my light off and we'll go see what we. So I think I got all the screws I need for the case. These are 5x20. I think I'm going to try to reuse this one. This one's already shot. I could cut a slit in it and use it as a standard, and we'll use this. I'm going to order some more JIS 5x20s, and hopefully maybe some little washers. These do need lock washers. I may just order the factory ones. I've done that in the past. This saved me a lot of grief. But at the moment, we kind of stuck with what we got. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands, as they say. Actually, I'm going to have to let this stuff, that stuff's still wet. My CDI and my CDI is still wet. So I'm going to take that in the house and let it get nice and warm. And then I'll come back. Okay, here we are, back at it. Let me get the light on so you guys can see an illuminated situation. Looks like someone's broke into the case, which we already know that because there's RTV for the case gasket, which isn't really what you want, but that's what someone did. So that's what we're going to live with. All right, so I went ahead, cleaned everything, dry vinyl wrapped it. The only modification I did was I split this gasket with a razor blade, which was a feat in itself to try and not cut myself as well. Because after I started this on here, it doesn't want to move. It wanted to push everything. That's fine. That's probably the best option for it. I'm going to slip this in here. This gasket is, or the other one. I think it works still. This may actually work because it is all part of the not slide very good. Oh man, let me see if I can find another one of these gaskets. Well, there's a gasket. We're going to pull this all apart anyways. My goal today is just to get us some spark. Get us some spark. Okay. Then back and look at CD350. That's the guy. Last guy. I just want to know how that is golden. It's fine. I'm not a golden guy. I won. Never again. Problem. Most likely. Yeah, no, anymore. I won't turn. I'm not getting much light out of that. Go. Now once I get the screws off, I'll show you. I'll worry about this thing loose. It feels pretty snug there. I forgot to get these screws. They're awful long for what they are. Let me try to get that one. I'm going to have the next modification for it. Let's see this one. So right here. What's in here? Should have a little before all this. There we go. There's a box slide down. I should have a little more to that. As always I did. I'm sure I set that down. That was very silly in there. That's fine. I was good. There's one side. Some of the stuff it's fun to figure out. Like, some people more puzzles. I can't puzzle. That is my thing to do. They also got slots more. I'm sure small. I know. I got a slot on there. Right. Yeah, I'm going to say that there. I'm not going to I'm trying to figure out how this wire is wrapped in. It's not going to place myself open down here. I'm going to need a camera slack. I don't think so. It's 2 hands. Nope. That's not number 3, it's number 2. But let's see this situation. Okay, that worked. Get that there, out of the way. That's good. That was good. Keep the chain. Let's have 8 times rolled in. Alright, well, let's see if we can get all the 5x20s and we'll put it down here and we'll talk about how this is fine. Okay, so we'll come back to the top side. The 5x25 screws do not work, so we aren't going to worry about those. Get out my old can of dielectric grease. I've had this about probably going on 10 to 15 years now. The aerosol gave out immediately, so that was pretty cool. I'm gonna grease up this stuff to keep it from corroding. It'll collect dust, but what do I care? CDI. Hopefully it'll keep working. That evaporust is kind of a pain. And the fact that it leaves a sticky residue. Okay, that's probably goobered up good. A little more there. Kind of it leaves it in a sticky after residue, like I just said, which stinks. You can wash it all off with water. It's biodegradable. The problem becomes water attracts moisture, and last thing you want is to clean something and then I guess water is moisture, it rusts, you know, it corrodes. Next thing you know, you're back, kind of, not necessarily back to square one. It does help protect it. Just, you have to make sure you get it dry. What the heck? I was supposed to go in there. Not have that started, or it's stripped out. One or two. Maybe someone else will restore this one day, but I am not. That is not my plan. Like, there's plenty of Kawasaki F7s out there in the world that I don't need to restore this one. Okay. More dielectric grease. Oh shoot. That's not the one I want. But that's the one we're going to goober up. Get some grease out of here. Probably just better if I did it with my finger. Okay, and now we need to search for this one. Alright, I'm not super concerned about these, but I do want to try to preserve them the best I can. So that way, if they're ever needed, if I do decide to put lights on here, like a Preston Petty setup on the front, which would be pretty cool, just want it so I can do it. Although I don't have much of a system on here to, this is my ground. One of these is ground here. It's green, so I may have to tap into a ground up here. That may help us in the long run. I may do that here shortly. Okay, those look like they're kind of all goobered up. I'm gonna put this up. Right spot. Any spots, good spot. And we actually may do that. I may go ahead and ground that out. That, like I said, that may help alleviate some of the issues we're having with all of this. And then we're going to plug some wires together here. Let's see, red and yellow is green and white. They only go one way, so this one obviously goes to this one. I'm just gonna wipe it off, make sure it looks decent. It doesn't need to look pretty, I just need it to really function at this point. But I also don't want to be grabbing it and dielectric grease all over my hands. Okay. So we got to do testing, which is a great possibility that we will have to do some sort of testing. I have to fight it. Be all slippery. If you never mess with dielectric grease, you're lucky. You are truly a lucky person. It's baby blue, that is not green. We may just go ahead and throw a ground on this. It's for the neutral safety light, but it's better to have a ground than not have a ground, you know? That was my thinking here. What is this wire coming out of there? It's a black and white that goes, that's probably my kill switch wire. I may reroute that back here. I need to look at the schematics and see what's going on at some point. Yeah, we got everything kind of sealed up, prepped here. Don't have the air box in. We're going to have to do some work on that. But let me put the flywheel back on. I'm not going to put it on super tight because I'll have to pull it back off to put the screws on. But I just want to see if we can get spark. That is my goal for this video today. So I remember we haven't really talked much about the timing on these. The timing is based off, there's a line over here. Correlates to a nub, and you kind of line those up. So we've got everything tied up. We got the wiring hooked up. I'm going to put the flywheel back on. Hopefully that keyway plays nice. I may end up buying a new one of those. That one looks pretty rough. And we'll kind of go from there. Alright, so a tip I could tell you, is where the keyway is, I just took a line and marked it so I could see. And when it got close, I was fighting the magnets. So I just kind of bumped the kickstart, and then it finally lined up. And then I kind of worked it on. Now I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on that, so I could take it off here in a bit, because I'll have to for the screws. But this kind of gets us to where we need to be able to kickstart it. Did I tighten that? Yeah, okay. Alright, so let's figure out the coil situation here. I'm going to go ahead and I got to find a place to put this gasket so I don't mess it up. But I'm going to probably put these screws back in here so we know where they go. Because I already kind of forgot. I think it goes here. There we go. That way we have that all taken care of and we can find a new home for these old ones. I kind of got a runny nose now all of a sudden. Not sure why. It's kind of windy though. That makes sense. Alright, now let's see if we've solved our issue. Maybe not. I hope I don't have to pull this goofy coil just to see. Should be threaded in. Alright, so let's do this a little differently. Let's pull this side out. We'll clip it again. I'll see how it looks here. It looks like it just mashed it all in. So let's thread on the side we know we can do fairly easy here. Jiminy Christmas. Jiminy Christmas, friend. Okay. Now it's caught. All right, now let's test this. See if we fix this. If we fix this, we'll move on to that. Good. Well, unfortunately, I'm trying to touch this poor little coil in here. And, I think our coil... Oh, no. Had it. We have a bad connection somewhere here. I think. We're not getting anything out of this. I think our coil is giving us issues. So, unfortunately for me, as I won't have a good video for this week, we are going to have to buy yet another coil. Because this thing is not reading at all. Good there. Why is it not? Why is it only flash? Huh. Well, I'll just plug it in and I guess we'll see what happens here. And hopefully it works. If it doesn't, well, I'll just buy another one and we'll have to see what we can do about that next one. Because this is not working out as well as I had hoped. I'll let go of that. Add that support back on. I'm worried that I don't want to be chasing my tail trying to figure out why are we not getting spark when it's the coil, the new coil. The brand new coil that I've managed to mess up somehow. So I may buy one or two just to have them on stock in hand. They're a little bit more robust than that. I may pony up, I don't know, and buy some from like a GT 750 or something. I think it's about the same width. This is actually supposedly for a this is for a little Honda, like a CL or CB. So I'm going to hook these up because these should be good. This is a good connection up to there. We could check it, but we'll just... I'm setting this bike up for a buddy to race, and oh, we have spark. I don't know if you saw that. I did. Let's zoom you in. I'm on 0% battery, so hopefully this works out. But I have spark. Hopefully you guys saw that. I'm going to shut this video off. Alright, so hopefully you guys can see that. Maybe I can do this with it all set up like this. I don't know, we're about ready to find out. I'm doing some gymnastics. Nope, I'm going to have to actually pick the bike. Strap the bike. Here we go. Let's see if you guys can actually see that now. Hopefully. Ground. Hopefully you guys can see that. So you can use a cheap eBay coil to run a Kawasaki F7 since it's hard to find F7 coils. Now my bike does not have a battery. I have somewhat weak sparks, so I suspect one, the field maggots are a little weak. The coils that I just put in could be a little weak, the exciter coil. CDI could be a little weak. Again, I don't have a battery, and if your bike has a battery and is not rewired to not have a battery, you need a battery in there to complete the circuit. I found that out on my 72. It doesn't have to be a good battery, just has to be a battery to complete the circuit. Otherwise, you don't have a good circuit. How long will this all last for me without the battery? I don't know. I guess we'll find out eventually. Alright, so we're getting closer here. We got spark finally. As of like yesterday, I got a starter cable, the 050. I don't even know if this one's right. And I got a throttle cable, the 067 one. Again, it seemed like there's 2 or 3 different cables for this bike in its 4 or 5 year journey. The 70s seem to have a slightly different cable than the 71 and 72s, which that is one group. And then you have the 73 and 74s, which seem to have a different cable yet. So with any hope, this one looks not to be the right one. I think I got the wrong throttle cable. Yes, I did get the wrong throttle cable. This one threads in. Maybe not. Nope. No, it doesn't. I got the right throttle cable, I believe. Looks to be. So that's starting off on a good start here, hopefully. What does this other end look like? Yep, that's probably it, because it's got the little clippy end. Alright, so I don't know if I got the right starter cable, as it does have the clippy end, and I don't have that on my carburetor. I gave myself one job last night, and that was to look up the routing of these cables, and guess what I forgot to do? Oh, this is nice, actually, cable. This cable's still supple. Woo! I like that. Sometimes they're not supple. They're a bear. Now, here's a problem on this one. Hopefully it's recording. I can't even tell if it's recording anymore because the new case is a little too far off. Alright, so this is supposed to slip into here. But we can't do that, so I'm probably going to end up having to cut this tip off. Maybe we'll get lucky here and we can force it in. There we go. Maybe it's just ripping out of my way. Just fine, I guess. I'm gonna have to nibble that end off to get this to actually work here. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this in the starter side. So one thing I've ran into, I realized, is this starter cable is not the correct one for this. This has got the little clippy end, and I don't think this is going to work. I think the cable's going to be too long. So I might just end up modifying something to make this work. I was just kind of thinking I can either do a little piece of brass and then run up a pull tab, and then just have a pull tab up here so you warm it up, let go, it does its thing. I also thought about just drilling and tapping this and running a small rod into there and doing it that way. I may do that way. That way I could just kind of, I don't know. I probably need this distance up here to make sure that that spring works correctly and keeps everything seated. My other problem is with this is I have an issue with I need this to seal down there. Now I looked inside and someone has wallered out the main jet there. Looks like it with a drill, so hopefully this all works out, because we might be in for some more issues. I gave myself one job last night, and that was to look up the cable routing of these cables so I would know for today, and the guy, I completely forgot to do that. And I'm not sure. I'm going to assume that it goes around and then goes straight down like this above the tank, and then kind of just hangs out in this neighborhood. It doesn't seem like it. That seems like an extra long cable. So we will go around through here under the tank. That seems a little bit more reasonable. Yes, I forgot. I need to put the cable on down here first and then work my way back up that way. Because, no, this cable is spinning there. I'm going to have to look up the cable routing, but that could be solved here after we figure this out, because I won't need the two-stroke pump to pump the line part of it until we get everything dialed in, because I'll just manually manipulate it. If you've never done these are always a little fun getting this cable and stuff on, so you're going to have to slip this on first, make sure it's the right way. You come down here, and what you got to do is get this cable out of here. You can see it if I push in there, but it's got a lock plate. So what you have to do is you have to pull up this, push that little lock plate up, get it out, leave your needle in there, and you kind of got to shimmy this down enough to get it down there. And with any lock, you can get it to go where you want to and pull out, but it's, there we go, come on, there you go. Once you get this pulled out, you're golden. The trick is then you don't lose your lock plate, because you'll need that in a bit. Probably should have took this off first, shouldn't we? There's a clip here. You can just take this off and then that pulls through. Mine's just a little bit of brass wire. But I think I can do this without... I don't need to adjust this. What I need to do is get a pick and push that out. So grab that. Or a screwdriver. Whatever I find. Whatever you find. This is not the appropriate pick for this. But maybe we can make it work here. Let's try not to stab ourselves today. That would not be of ideal situations. One way goes, the other way doesn't. I don't quite remember how it works. It's been a couple days, my friends. Half of being a mechanic, I think, sometimes is just, especially on this older stuff, is just trying to figure out. It's just a big puzzle. I know I said that yesterday. There we go. We're moving. We are moving. Let's roll this up. Don't lose that. There we go. Cable's out. We'll just fish it out the rest of the way. This is off. I'll leave that assembly there. we will not lose our clip. Set that in that bowl. Then you just kind of pull this stuff off. Pull this grungy end off. This is the reason it's so tight is to seal it. But if your cable's jacked up, well, it makes it a little bit trickier. Well, shoot, I am gonna have to run a cable, I think, for this carburetor side. Unless I make a shorty cable out of this cable, which I might do. Oh, this thing is so rigid still. Maybe I would buy a new one. I don't really want to because it's money. Let's see if we get it out. Ah, I just ruined this cable because this cable won't come out. A little shorter. Nope, this is not coming apart. Alright, well, I've ruined this. So I'm going to go on eBay and hopefully I can find a newer one that's slightly more supple. That thing has locked itself in there pretty good. And what we're going to do now is, since this is all a mess, I'm just going to put this kind of half-assed back together till we can get the parts. I don't really need to put anything back on other than the cap. Lock that down. We'll slip this cable back through here, possibly. Does this end any different? That would be the next question. They look to be about the same size, so we should be good there. Trick is just getting it through that bend. There we go. That looks like it'll clip in. We will then push this up. Fight this a little bit. That's what we like to do with these old bikes, is just fight everything. Get as much slack as you can out of it. This would probably be a lot easier if I just take that throttle out. And get it to go in there, maybe. Like this cable is a hair shorter than I thought it would be. So I'll just struggle with it. Sometimes I put a pair of needle nose vice grips on that just to hold it, because my fingers get a little too big. We're going to go to some needle nose real quick, just so we can get it. Alright, so the sockets didn't work out. I realize you guys probably can't see what I'm working at, so a little closer. So I've been fighting that. Move my knee around that. This. And my sockets were too long or too short, the 12mm. I need one now to start it. I gotta put this pick up before I step on it again. Oh, alright. 12 extension. Had this all put it up. Okay, here we are. Now, I do have some worries about all this because we still have an issue with, could have a bad or a pump up front, could have a bad left or right crank seal. So I don't know if this is actually going to run. I'm going to have to dive into it and do some more diagnosis, which is probably the truth about what's going to have to happen. I mean, we don't have a clutch. I don't really have a good way of shutting it off at the moment. I need to get a pair of pliers on that. I don't like this setup they have. I wish this nut was something that was a little bit more. You didn't need one on the back of it, because that's just kind of makes this more of a trick to try and get on and off in here. I mean, eventually, one day, I'll figure out a system that works pretty good. If I do it enough, but this point in time, this is just rather annoying. I'm not actually going to get that crazy. I'm just going to snug it. Something that I can get it back on and off. That's really all I need there. Put that wedged in there. Alright, so let's loosen this. Or not. I need to put some vacuum caps on these, and then we're at the point where we could try to start it. Oh, I got to put that clip back in. Put that clip back in before we forget. As much as I want to ride it today, I don't think we will. I think we're going to have to take a step back and do some rearranging with some stuff. Again, I'll go get some vacuum caps and then we'll... Alright, so I'm pretty limited on my fuel supply. I could get some more, but I don't have a lot because I spilt a lot the other day on accident. So I'll open up my drain valve. See if we can fill this up. I got kind of a junky hose. Okay. I don't know where that idle mixture screw's set at. Let's put it in and back it out. I should have looked that up. That was another thing I need to look up. We'll go 2.5 turns. That's okay. Alright. Come on now. 1, 2. That's technically 1. We'll go 1 1/8. We'll start there. I don't have a choke, and my throttle kind of is blipping up on me here. It wants to get hung up. So let's hope for the best. I'm probably going to get caught up on all this dang fuel line. Put that there. Let's see if it'll at least kick off. See what happens. Well, that's a pretty darn good sign. Whew. Okay. Do we give her a little bit more giggle gas? Okay. Let's try it again. Well, it runs. That's a pretty good sign. It it rips. All right, well, I like that. It sounds good. It's got this expansion chamber on it. It does not sound like a normal Kawasaki F7 with this bad boy on here. I like that. I also have no kill switch, so when it took off, I got a little scared. I can always do this, but holy smokes, it runs. So I think I went in the episode here because I did the editing on the coil video, and it was about an hour. I got that condensed down because I took out all of the swapping of the magneto or the exciter coil. And this video is probably going to be, I don't know, maybe I'll break it up into 2 parts, or I'll just leave it as one.